Hello and welcome to the session. Today we'll be talking about what I believe is a revolutionary product for content filtering for schools, Deledao Digital Wellness. Your students deserve a better internet and Deledao can deliver. My name's Anthony Martini and I'll be hosting today's session. Our session agenda for today, we'll do some quick introductions. And then the founder and CEO of Deledao will talk a little bit about the genesis of the solution. We'll hear from a IT director from Westwood Public Schools who will talk about their experience with Deledao. And they were an early adopter and been using the product for close to 3 years. We'll get a live demo of the features of Deledao and what set it apart from other legacy filtering solutions. We'll take some questions, and then we'll wrap it up and talk about next steps, including how you can get a demo of Deledao for your district. First, a quick bit about us. LogicWing is a IT consulting services company. We've been in business since 2007, and we've focused almost exclusively on the K-12 vertical. So we worked with all different types of educational institutions, from large urban public districts to small private schools across the United States. And we provide IT project services and consulting, professional development for teachers and administrators, almost exclusively on the transition to cloud in education. We're a Google Cloud partner, and we are a recent Deledao Digital Wellness partner, because we believe so much in the solution that it works for creating more engagement and a safer internet for teachers and students. Today's presenters, we're lucky enough to have Shuang Ji, who is the founder and CEO of Deledao. He has over 20 years of experience in network security and software. Before starting Deledao, he served in senior positions at Trend Micro, Netgear, and Cisco. So he is a veteran of the tech industry, and he has focused his considerable skill and knowledge on creating a filtering solution that is purpose-built for K-12. And we're lucky enough to have Shuang demo his product, as well as answer any questions you may have about the solution. Steve Ouellette is the Director of Technology for Westwood Public Schools. He has over 25 years in education, first as a teacher, and then more recently as a department chair, and then for the last 10 years as a Director of Technology. As I mentioned earlier, Westwood Public Schools was an early adopter of Deledao. And later on, Steve will share his personal experience, as well as his teacher and students' experiences with Deledao and how they benefit from implementing the solution. So I will now pass on to Shuang so he could talk about Deledao.
Okay, great. Well, thank you everybody for attending this webinar. So my name is Shuang Ji. I'm the founder and CEO of Deledao. We're a digital wellness company, and our first product is actually a K-12 school product, which does revolutionary web filtering. So again, thank you so much, to LogicWing for having us, and also to Steve, who's willing to, talk about us today. And then, the company actually, so as Anthony has said, I have been in the network security industry for more than 20 years. One of the reasons we started this company was actually because of my school-age daughter, who is 10 years old now, and because I've been in this industry for long enough, I just knew the existing filters wouldn't be able to, sufficiently protect her, when she goes to school, because the legacy filters, they basically pre-classify each domain, excuse me, into a category, and then try to filter at the domain level. It kind of works well. It worked well for a while, but once, social networking sites like, YouTube and Facebook came out, it doesn't work well anymore because there's so much user contributed content and every page is different. So the approach we're taking is totally different. One, we utilize AI models to actually analyze the text, image, and videos on web page, and also we do that in real time instead of pre-classifying them. And the product has evolved, and now we have three main components. One is the real-time AI filtering. And the second is student wellness monitoring and alerting. For instance, if we see, students are visiting, self-harm websites or their cyberbully email exchanges, we can also alert the administrator. We also recently added live classroom management where, teachers can monitor students' screens and browser tabs in real time, and also send messages or remotely close tabs for them. So like I said, I had, I was actually the co-inventor of proxy scanning, back in 1996, which is still the basis of most other filtering products today. And I was well aware of the shortcomings of this approach, especially with the proliferation of social networking sites these days. Okay, so yeah, I think this is pretty obvious. Before CNN, their news, Macy's is shopping and Playboy is bad, but right now, it just doesn't work that way. So, and also I think some of the legacy products evolved by using keyword blocking, but still it doesn't. For instance, if you want to block students from searching for adult movies, you would typically block the keyword adult, but that's going to block innocent searches like adult education as well, because it doesn't recognize the context of the web page. So that's why we think our technology is revolutionary, and we recently got awarded 2 patents for our innovations already. So now I think I'll turn over to Steve so that he can talk about his experience with our product.
Okay, thank you, Shuang, and I appreciate being here today. As you and Anthony mentioned earlier, I'm the Director of Technology for the Westwood Public Schools. I've been in this role now, this is my 11th year. And just a little bit about our district. We're a small suburban district outside of Boston with about 3,200 students. We have 5 elementary schools, 1 middle school, 1 high school. We're a well-resourced district. It's a pretty affluent community. And we started our one-to-one program with Chromebooks back in 2013 at the high school level. And we've since pushed it down to elementary. And then with COVID last year, we basically we're one-to-one down to kindergarten right through grade 12. And so we've had filtering products in place since we started the one-to-one program with Chromebooks, and we've had a couple different products. I won't name the vendors by name, but I will say that we've tried a couple different options. We've had some pain points with previous vendors. Sometimes, for example, when the Chrome OS would update, the filter would struggle to keep up, or there might be some glitches with the performance of the filter that we had in place. We found some platforms that maybe didn't have the most intuitive interface. And we've also had students that have found, various loopholes in previous filter solutions. And I'll give a classic example. We had a prior vendor that we used. We had a at-home policy, and then we had an in-school policy. And we still have that with Deledao. And students would access a site, or it might be a streaming service at home, and before they went to school, and they'd leave the tab open, then they would come to school and they would be on our network and the new policy would kick in. But the page that had been left open would continue to be available to the students. So we were just frustrated with some of those things. We weren't actively looking for anything new, but we were introduced to Schwang back in 2018, 2019. It was in the fall by a mutual contact, Lynette Owens, who works for Trend Micro. And I think, Schwang, you mentioned that you previously worked for that company, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah.
Yep. So she has done some internet safety work in our district, and she basically said, a friend of mine has a new product, and would you be willing to attend a demo? And, I get inundated with offers for new products all day long, and it can become quite burdensome, but the timing was good. I mean, we weren't actively shopping for something new, but at the same time, we had some frustrations with our current product. So we met with Schwang, and he demonstrated his technology, and the artificial intelligence aspect was really intriguing. The fact that, as Schwang mentioned, his product kind of sits on top of every page and scans for text, image, and real-time video analysis, regardless of whether or not a site might be on some predefined list of sites that would be blocked. We had the peace of mind knowing that his technology was using artificial intelligence to detect objectionable content. What's really interesting is that when there's a new product out there, one would expect that there are performance issues and glitches as the product needs to mature over time. But we found that pretty much right out of the gate, it was working as intended. So we piloted the product at the middle school level. Middle schoolers are very motivated to try to kind of work around filters and find ways to download games and whatnot. So we kind of had a good test case, and it went well. We were very pleased with the performance, and some of the loopholes that I had just mentioned did not exist with Deledao's product. So we made a decision at the end of the 2018-2019 school year that we would transition our full fleet of Chromebooks over to Deledao, and we have not looked back. We continue to be impressed by the product, and the features that have been added since adopted it have only made it better. I mentioned earlier that reliability is one of the hallmarks of Deledao. It basically performs as expected, and we haven't had obviously, any product will have an occasional glitch or something, and Deledao is not completely immune to that, but it has been very far and few between, and we've been very pleased with that. And the other thing to note is that if there is something that maybe didn't work as expected, the responsiveness of Deledao, I can't underscore that enough. I'll fire off an email to Schwang and say, we had this experience, can you help us out? And I'll get an email back, and Schwang will say, I've passed this on to our developers, and we'll have a fix in place, by the end of practically the end of the day, if not, by the end of the week. So responsiveness to improve the product has been simply remarkable. It's been great. And in addition to responsiveness, there have been a lot of product enhancements that we've seen since we took on the product. And I'll mention a couple of them. There's some are very small. So for example, when you're in the admin console, there's a nav bar with kind of the top level commands. It could be, click this tab to go to our policy manual, policy site, where you create policies for different groups, or click this tab to go to the wellness section. And, we suggested, wouldn't it be nice if you could lock that nav bar so when you're scrolling down, you always see it? And, they incorporated that. That's a very small thing, but it just kind of made interacting with the product that much easier. Not that far into using the product, Deledao introduced a parent portal. And we now allow parents to essentially register with us to receive browsing reports on their students' internet history. They can also access the portal themselves to see the reports without waiting for an email to come with a summary. And they can also impose restrictions at home beyond those that we impose. And there's a lot of granularity with that as well. So we have it set in such a way that if a parent has registered for the portal, they can block sites beyond those that we block, but they can't unblock sites that we block. So that's kind of how we set it. But depending on the circumstances, we could change that so that the parents have more control over what their child is permitted to see or to access, or what they're not permitted to access. So that's been great. We've surveyed parents. We've asked them, what's your experience with the parent portal? And it's been almost unanimous that they feel empowered by having that information. They're so overwhelmed with their own children, with everything else, smartphones, and I don't have to get into that too much, but I mean, it's just such a proliferation of devices that kids have access to. Parents really appreciate that they have the peace of mind knowing that what we provide students is a safe experience, and it's really used for educational purposes. Other product enhancements that have come along the way, there is image and video sensitivity sliders where you can say we want more aggressive image detection, and you just drag the slider, and you can kind of like, maybe for elementary kids, you want it to be a little more aggressive, that kind of thing. They've introduced a category called educational games detection, which is different than regular games. And so again, that's Deledao's AI technology that is now able to distinguish between like a game that really is for legitimate educational purposes versus those that are just for entertainment. The reporting features are fabulous. There's really good visual cues. When you run a report on a student, you can see at a glance what's been blocked, what's not, what policy kicked in. It's very user-friendly. There's the new Deledao classroom feature where teachers can kind of watch in real time the kind of a bird's eye view of their student screens. I believe, Shuang, you're probably going to get into that with your demo. But this product has really evolved from one that was strictly for filtering to something that's a more comprehensive solution. And the other product that I believe Shuang will mention is the student wellness feature. I will say for our district, we have chosen to not implement that wellness detection feature. And that was really something that came out of a discussion with the superintendent. That was, in our circumstances, we decided that we did not want to avail ourselves of that product. But it is something that's available that for some districts, it could be a really good answer. So I've talked for quite a while, but I mean, there's a lot to say. We've just been very, very happy with the product. When it comes up amongst peers, when they ask about what are you using, I don't hesitate to mention what we use and encourage other people to try it out for their own district. It's just been a great fit, and we're looking forward to our continued relationship with Deledao in the years to come. So I hope I covered everything. I believe there's a Q&A coming up later, and I'll certainly be happy to take other questions that come up, but happy to talk about it.
Great. Thanks so much, Steve. That's some
course.
powerful stuff. So Shuang, I will give the
Okay.
presentation back to you so you can show us a quick demo of some of the features. Now, this is obviously a product that has, some depth to it. So
Yeah.
Shuang's just going to focus on some of the differentiating features of Deledao.
Okay.
And of course, at the end of our session, there'll be some information on how you can get in contact with us or Deledao to get a trial for your district.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much, Steve and Anthony. Okay. So, let me do some live demos of the product. So this is a Chrome browser with our extension installed right here. So, it's basically the same experience that you will have on a Chromebook. So as I said, basically, our technology works using real-time AI. So for instance, you see, the screen flash a bit because we need to read the text, images, and possibly videos on the page. And then our AI engine actually figure out that this is a game related page, and kind of block it. The reason you're seeing still seeing this is because we have another Deledao Discover feature turned on, and if there are some whitelisted websites on the search result page, so we're still going to allow students to access that. So we've also seen students, using inventive spelling, like inserting a space between each letter, and that would actually bypass most of your existing filters that are domain or keyword based. But because we work on we analyze the web page text in real time, we can still block it. And also, just to show you how powerful our AI model is, uh, because what it does is really to read the entire text on the page and like a human, and try to figure out what the page is really about. So for instance, if you search for how to weed my garden, okay, uh, this is all fine. We allow it. We don't block anything. But if you search for how to grow weed in my garden, and I think screen flash a bit, and you saw some marijuana content, and we're able to detect it, and then block it and offer some help if the student is needs it. And again, this is because we have the Deledao Discover feature turned on. I mean, otherwise you will just see a generic blocking page. And then I think the other feature that we have is image analysis. For instance, if I, for instance, let's go to a Sports Illustrated page, and then as the page loads, you will see, some images start being blurred in real time. Oh, and then if we see too many of these inappropriate images, we block the whole page. So this is our real-time video analysis demo. Basically what happens is when videos are playing, we analyze the frames in real time, and once we see inappropriate image video frames, we start blurring it and also mute it. When the content returns to normal, we unblur it. So let's so see, as soon as we detect inappropriate images, we start blurring it. And then I think in probably 5 or 10 seconds, when the content becomes normal, we unblur it again. Yeah, so it's unblurred. Okay. So again, all these are our AI technology working in real time. Another feature that Steve also mentioned is our wellness feature. For instance, if students are searching for something, I want to kill myself, or self-harm intentions, we can actually one, generate a help page, and also alert the administrators in real time if configured. So we found this feature quite useful at quite a few schools. I mean, literally some schools tells us it probably helps save a few lives in certain cases. So this is also very useful. And then I'll just give a very quick overview of our admin console. For instance, this is a dashboard which gives an overview of what's happening. So in reports, as Steve said, we have very good reports, because I think most other legacy products, they only show you URLs, where we can actually show you a lot of page titles, which is definitely more informative. And for instance, these are the ones that the students normally visited without being blocked. These are like YouTube's, and these are some searches. Oh, by the way, our text analysis actually works on all web pages, not just Google search pages. We're just using Google search as examples. And this icon basically tells you that videos are images are being or blurred on this page or mitigated on this page. And then you can filter the reports by time, OU, student, locations, whether it's on campus or off campus, or you can just search for keywords, which is very powerful. For instance, this shows all the weed related web page with visits. Yeah. And then our policy page, you can actually configure all kinds of policies, and then for instance, you can select whether it's on campus, at home, or all locations, and apply it to select OUs or students, or even a IP range. For instance, if you want to have a different policy for the library computers, or even time range and day range in case you have for instance some tests coming up, right? And then within each rule, you can have quite a few other settings, including for instance whether you want to remove the YouTube suggestions on the right side, and also turn on the safe mode for various search engines. And then you have a number of categories that you can block. Another feature that we have is we can actually also analyze real-time video conferencing like Zoom, Google Meet. We can filter them in real time as well. And then in addition to our AI technology, if you want to have additional block lists and allow lists, to have more fine-grained control, that's also possible, and it's actually very powerful. So I think with legacy products, usually the block list grows very long, but with our product, I think the typical usage is you will just have a short allowed list where you want to make sure certain websites are always available, even if they contain some other, for instance, some game pages that are deemed necessary for education. And then you can just leave the blocking to us. The other feature we have is we have a teacher portal where you can enable, for instance, enable a teacher to approve unblock requests. Sometimes teachers for their curriculum use, they might need to approve some additional web pages. If you enable this feature, when the students are blocked on that blocking page, there will be an unblock button, and then the related teacher will receive an email notification about that unblock request, and they can actually approve from there. And the other thing is, the live classroom part, where the teacher can basically, create a class and then monitor the students in real time. So this is a quick view of our teacher portal. So the teacher can log into this teacher portal using their Google Workspace or Microsoft Teams account. And for instance, if you dedicated a teacher to investigate wellness alerts for certain OUs, they can actually see it here and make notes, or basically investigate the wellness incidents here. And then this is actually where the unblock request would appear, and they can basically quickly approve and reject here. So the other menu options are related to live classroom. So this is where they can create a class that includes a number of students, and then they can just click start now to have a live class where they can see their students live screens. Actually, I'm not sure if these demos are okay. Yeah, so we do see, so these are some of our simulation students. So for instance, I think we've set we've set the configuration before so that only certain websites are allowed to be visited during this class. So that's why you're seeing a lot of blocked messages here or tabs here where the students were trying to visit some other websites or distractions. And then after class, you can also see the classroom history reports where you'll see where students, which websites they have been on, and whether they're staying focused. Okay. And as Steve mentioned, we also have a parent portal feature where you can basically set up. So so we can detect when the Chromebooks are off campus, and then as an admin, you can set what the parents can do. For instance, whether allow them to block additional categories or block additional websites, and even allow additional websites. But usually this is off for most schools. And in this case, basically, the parent, they can log into our parent portal, and we're going to show to the parent, a summary of what their students have been, up to on their computers. And this is actually one of our hallmark technology as well, which is called Deledao Spotlight. It basically shows you a word cloud with a summary of what the student has been doing on the web. The red ones are actually the block ones, okay, because this is a demo account, so we do a lot of other stuff. But the blue ones are the regular ones that are not really blocked. So it gives the parents a very intuitive overview of the students' activities. And if turned down, they can also see the wellness alerts, and then they will see some, kind of the same level of reports, as the admin can see, all the page titles, and they can do free search as well. And in addition, they can set additional restrictions when the devices are at home. But as Steve said, the school policy always overrides. So for instance, these ones with the red checks means are blocked by school, so they cannot unblock it. But they can, because this is how it's configured by the admin, so they can block additional categories at home, if they want. Let's say the school allows streaming media, but if the parents, they don't want students to watch streaming media at home, they can actually block this category additionally, as well as setting a additional block list and allow list. They can also have a kind of a fun time period setting where, for instance, they allow streaming media between, let's say, 7 p.m. and 8 p.m. Okay. So anyway, so yeah, we try to offload some of the actual work from the school administrators, for instance, by letting teachers do some unblocking, and also letting the parents access certain student reports themselves. And a lot of the districts actually find this very useful. Okay. All right, yeah, so I think that's a very quick demo of our product. So yeah, I'll hand it back to you, Anthony.
Thank you so much, Swang. I think it's clear how powerful the tool is. So wanted to take a few moments to address some of the questions. So this question is for Steve, and I realize, Steve, that this might not be the easiest question to answer, but are students more engaged with this solution in place?
Yeah, I would say they are. The way we structured the filter is we tend to be a little more restrictive with the younger kids, and then we taper it off when they get up to the high school. And I think the reality of the situation is that at some point kids have to learn some self-coping or self-management skills on their own. Otherwise, that has to happen. So we definitely prevent access quite a bit more at the younger ages, and just as a result of that, they're just simply not distracted. If teacher wants them doing something on a math site, then they can open up a tab and they can try to go somewhere else, and there's a good chance that if it's a distraction type site that they're not going to get there. So that absolutely has helped. I know that I have a team of tech coaches at all levels, and they've reported that to me. But I think it's also important to mention that, this is a technical approach. It's fabulous, but we also do a lot of outreach. We deliberately teach kids about responsible use. So we have our technology coaches have classes with kids, and they talk about strategies kids can do or implement to manage their digital experience in a way that it's not distracting. And so it's a two-pronged approach. I don't think there's any way around that. Health and wellness department has taken us on as well. And that has to happen because, we don't control student smartphones. And so, we might have Deledao overseeing and helping us manage school issued devices, which is great. But if a kid wants to be distracted on their smartphone, there's really nothing we can do about it. And so they need a direct, explicit instruction for how they can manage that. So it's a two-pronged approach. But we, as I said earlier, it's a tapered approach where we kind of release some of the restrictions as the kids get older.
Got it. Great. This question probably could be addressed by both Shuang and Steve. Somebody asked, what is the implementation like? So how difficult is it to implement from a technical perspective, and then usage by the teachers for the modules that the teachers have access to?
Okay, so yeah, I think I can take this question.
Sure.
So on Chromebooks, it's just an extension, and then typically the deployment can be done in 20 minutes. Basically, we just need to do a synchronization of your Google Workspace directory or Microsoft Teams directory, and then you can deploy the extension in Google Workspace. And like I said, usually it only takes about 15-20 minutes. And unlike some other competitors where they have different extensions and different consoles for different functions, we only have one extension and also one admin console where you can manage all the the filtering, wellness, and also classroom functions in one place. And for teacher portal, so if you want to get the teachers involved, they can actually go to our teacher portal, and all they need to do is use their Google Workspace or Microsoft Teams account to sign in, and then they will be able to access all the functions. But prior to that, the administrator might need to do a little mapping between the teachers and students so that the teachers have proper authorization for different students. And then on Mac and Windows, we have a proxy agent which can be installed using traditional GPU or the new Microsoft Intune or any central deployment tool on Mac, and that'll basically work with all your existing browsers on those machines. It'll have our full AI protection and the classroom part as well. Okay.
Steve, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'll just add real quick. I'm not the network manager, so I've got people that spend more time like setting up the admin panel. I go in there all the time as well. I think it's very intuitive. Shuang is absolutely right. The deployment is a matter of pushing out an extension and connecting it to our Google Workspace account. One thing that my network manager remarked about this setup was, and pardon me for not using the right terminology, but the filter is the policies we've created have this like hierarchy where it checks at the top, and if it doesn't meet the conditions, it goes to the next policy. Again, I don't know what the term is, but my network manager remarked that that's kind of a common filtering logic that he's seen with other products. So adapting to this product was very easy for him because he was familiar with creating policies that follow a hierarchy. But it's very, again, I'm not a network person, but I can go in there and I understand everything. It doesn't take long at all.
So yeah, I think the hierarchy, Steve just mentioned, I think that's usually used in, firewall configurations. So that's why, a lot of the network administrators find our policies very easy to use. And it's also very powerful as well because, sometimes, for instance, if you want to create a penalty box for certain students or, maybe not OUs, it's very easy, it's just add a rule that applies to those students at the top, and that rule will be matched first and the other rules will not be looked at. So it's very easy to create a penalty box as well. I mean, that's some of the feedback we got from some customers, where with some other products it's not very easy.
Yeah. One more question, and this is probably for Shuang.
Yeah, so yeah, I see.
Yeah, is there DNS inline for
Right.
filtering BYOD devices? So these would be devices where you cannot install a Chrome extension or an agent.
Yes, so the answer is yes. We do have auxiliary DNS solutions for your, for instance, guest Wi-Fi networks, where the BYOD devices will be filtered by our DNS service.
Okay. So just to wrap up here, again, if you're interested in learning more about the solution and you want to get a trial for your organization, you can email us at info@logicwing.com or visit Deledao's website at short linked here, bit.ly/Deledao, and you can sign up for a demo there as well.
Yeah.
So to just wrap up, the solution for digital wellness from Deledao is purpose built for K-12 education. So it takes into account the usage scenarios that most organizations would have for student device and internet usage. It uses AI-powered real-time contextual allowing and denying of site content. So it's reading the content on the page and blocking the content that's inappropriate based on your policies, and it's AI. And there are policies for both on and off campus use. And in the case of a district like Westwood, they've actually pulled in the parents, where the parents have some measure of control of the content that their students can view. All right, so that is an option. And a really big deal is allowing access to all the content on YouTube that's educational while still blocking distracting or inappropriate videos. That's always been a challenge for YouTube. There's a wealth of really excellent educational content, but it's hard to allow that without allowing access to content that is going to reduce student engagement. And the tool through the management console has really powerful reporting, and that's reporting for administrators as well as teachers and also parents. So parents can get a report of student usage. And that allows you to have, parents to have a much more specific conversation on how their students are utilizing the internet and the web. And lastly, this is a modular solution. So there's obviously the core of the product is content filtering, but there are also modules for student wellness. There is a parent portal, and there's also classroom management, where teachers can control what content students are accessing during class session. And districts can deploy as little or as many of those modules as fits their usage scenarios. So I think it's a fantastic solution. We're really proud to be partnering with Deledao. And we thank you for attending today. And of course, thank you very much, Shuang, for joining us and going through the solution, and also to Steve for sharing your experiences. We hope to take the time to check it out for yourself, because I think seeing is believing. So thanks again for attending, and we look forward to seeing you in the future.
Okay. Thank you, Steve and Anthony.
You're quite welcome. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.